science fiction on a screen so bright. Old classics and the new delights. The unapologetic geek will lead the way, with facts and fun to fill your day. Discussing every detail, every frame, from the eerie to the loud and the tame. Gig along with all that's great, those Sunday vibes you can't debate. Tug along with the Sunday crew, geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate.
Don't worry, I tested that. It's fine.
Greetings from South Carolina.
Okay. Hi. Welcome, everyone, to Tug Chat, as always. Let's see. We had a whole bunch of people in the chat I got to say hi to. Danny was here, apparently. Thank you, Danny. Did you Chance was here twice?
There's two of you. Oh, my.
Okay, Sarah, my flock, as always.
She's everywhere.
She is everywhere. Vim Vanderstraten is here. Interesting choice for a chat. Yeah, I will get into why we're doing this in a minute. Tracy, as always, is here. Love you, Tracy. Good to see you. Indy Spoats. Me and Danny were talking behind the scenes about not being able to see every movie that's ever been made. Indy probably got close. And watch Jurassic Park first for archaeology tips to dig it out. Let's see. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is about a month ago. I don't even remember what the topic was. Somehow Nighthawks came up and I admitted I'd never seen it, and everybody in the chat was giving me grief about having never seen Nighthawks, and so I promised I would see it, and then I couldn't find it streaming anywhere without paying money, and then I just kind of put it off until Chance said, I got a copy, I'll give you a copy. So Chance sent me a copy. It arrived, I watched it, and I decided, okay, to make everybody happy, we can talk about Nighthawks, because as an 80s action movie crime drama guy, I mean, that's what I grew up with. I was really surprised I'd never seen this before. So I have a lot of thoughts. Anyway, thank you, Chance. Very cool of you.
I'm glad you finally saw it. You're a little bit younger than me. I remember watching this on HBO endlessly. I'm sure Damien and Dan can concur with that. But I'm glad you finally saw it, and it got there quickly. I mailed it on Friday. You got it on a Monday, and that was media mail. So kudos to the U.S. Postal Service.
And usually around here, the USPS is terrible.
The sad part is Nighthawks is one of the movies people talk about that, like, whatever happened to it, because I remember seeing it on cable a lot back in the day, and I actually remembered having it written from the pick-a-flick place, you know, written DVD and watching it later on, but 30 years, you know, I haven't seen that movie till we decided to talk about it.
I'd honestly never seen it, and I thought I'd seen every, like, late 70s through the 80s cop movie, you know. And
I guess we're just young enough, you and me, that we missed it.
Yeah, somehow.
By the time we were watching HBO, and usually when I watched HBO, it was just, you know, the free weekends. I would just set the VCR to record the entire weekend. And if Nighthawks never showed up, I never saw it. So,
how old are you guys, if you don't mind my asking?
46.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 59.
57.
Okay.
57.
I'm almost double something this November.
Let the ketchup.
But yeah, okay, cool. So, well, I'm glad you discovered the movie. I'm glad it came up. It came up when we were talking about movies on this stream on The Unapologetic Geek.
Yeah, like I said, I don't even remember what the topic was. Anyway, hi Thrash.
Sorry I'm late. There was a very important thing I had to do, and the website was crashing, so it took me many tries.
Okay.
But business before pleasure and business is taken care of. Thank you for your patience, friends of mine. Oh, and by the way, I came in a little late. Were we talking about the old days and the old ways where you watched movies where you couldn't stream or even had physical media?
Sort of.
And if it wasn't on HBO or network television, you simply had to wait.
Yep.
This current generation will never understand the patience that required. And then sometimes the movie would come on and you were being punished.
Yes.
You couldn't watch it. Come on! You remember for 10 more years.
Remember when it would come on? It would come out in theater, and it would be 6, 8, 9, sometimes a year. Before it'd come out on video that you could actually like. If you missed it in theater when it first came out, and you're waiting for it to come out on video, it could be a year before you could.
Oh
you'd go rent it.
man! Look, if you had HBO or Cinemax or the movie channel, you only had to wait 3 months.
Yeah, or you could get like a screener copy on VHS like immediately after the movie released, but you'd have to pay like $100.
Yeah. No, I'm talking if you just want to rent it for the $3.99 at Blockbuster.
Yeah, he's the video store expert.
Yeah,
and then what would happen is when DVDs came out, there was no lag time. The DVD would come straight out, and all your loyal VHS customers would get bullshit. They'd be like, "How come I have to wait for the VHS?" And I go, "Well, think of it this way: the DVD comes out early, and the VHS comes out later." And they'd be like, "They think it was like my fault." I'd be like, "No, the way I see it is, I want something. You can't get it for me."
Yeah, Michael Eisner, right? Like I told that story before about the Rat Palace and the little theater in the hometown.
Yeah.
Well, also the guy that run it, the projectionist, had this VHS set up. He would sit there and record the movies right off the screen, copy them on VCRs, and sell them for $10 a piece. Any movie we saw at the theater, we could have copies of at home the next week.
You'd see a guy getting up to get popcorn to go to the bathroom, in the shot, blocking the screen.
He was shooting from the projection booth, man. They were straight up clear.
I remember downloading movies like that, Chance, back in like 2002 and stuff like that, off a LimeWire and stuff like that. Yeah.
I saw X-Men 2000 that way, like a VHS tape where someone had camcorded it in China or something. But and you have sometimes you'd have the subtitles in Korean or whatever. But I remember you had to wait 3 years to see a movie on network TV. Yeah. Like on ABC, the movie of the week, like Superman, the movie didn't hit till like February 1982, and it was released in December 15th, 1978.
Only if they deemed it good enough to actually pay for the rights to broadcast it. So you'd miss a whole lot of other movies. So they'd either have a whole bunch of really not so great movies that were cheap. And maybe one out of the 3 that were great that came out 3 years ago.
Star Wars took 10 years.
I remember there were like George Lucas and Spielberg both wanted their movies to wait so that they could re-release them in theaters and make money that way before releasing it on home video. Like E.T. I think took 2 or 3 years before it was released on home.
They got to make all the monies first.
Could have taken a couple of more, and I wouldn't have been all upset about it.
CBS premiered Star Wars. It was a long time, but it wasn't quite 10 years. I must interject.
I remember in the early 90s on I think it was on Christmas Day, they would do a Star Trek or Star Wars marathon where they would play. I can't remember which network did it, but they'd play Star Wars back, like all 3 of them back to back to back all day
Christmas.
long.
You mean Life Day?
Yeah, exactly.
Life Day.
So I'm sorry, Chance, did you say it was? I could have sworn it was 1987 before Star Wars first aired. Are you saying it was less than that?
Yeah, it was less than that. Here, I'll give you the exact date.
That's cool. Thank you for the correction. All these years, I've been thinking it was, 10 years. It was like the decade, the anniversary, but
no, because I remember I was just personal. Like our family moved to a different county in like 1985, and I saw it prior to that. It premiered on February 26, 1984 on CBS. Star Wars.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was actually wrong.
But you weren't that far off. 7 years, 10 years. What's the difference? 77.
That's why we have this diverse panel, because, we correct each other, because we're all often wrong. And we have Indy in the chat, as always.
Indy.
The final word. He's our judge.
And I have to point this out just due to synchronicity. In the idea of the cinemas themselves pirating the movies is a major plot contrivance in Night of the Comet. which of course stars someone we're going to be talking about in
Yep.
just a minute or two.
She's in this movie.
Little synchronicity there.
Okay. Well, anyway, Nighthawks.
So
I like.
just a reminder, I do have to leave early. So
Right.
Bye.
Yeah. like in about 25 minutes or so.
We'll start talking about it, and you know, leave when you have to. It's fine.
Okay.
And we'll let you go first.
Oh.
Well, we're not taking turns really, unless you want to.
Oh.
But I
Are
did
we
have
allowed
notes.
to, spoilers are okay, I'm assuming, because
Yes,
we're talking.
full
okay.
spoilers, by the way. Okay.
It's been 40 plus years. If you haven't seen the movie yet, it's on you.
Let me just throw this out there just to start things off a little bit. Is any movie that starts and ends with Sylvester Stallone in drag. It's a great movie. I love
That's the one thing he's going to start with. That's the lead.
Hey, why not? That's where the movie starts.
Yeah, when I at the end of the movie, I was like, it's him. It's the whole time I'm watching her walk back and forth. I'm like, it's him. It's
they
him.
hide his face a lot, but you can tell it's like a really bad mask.
Hey, pulling off the drag thing with a full beard apparently might not have been that easy.
You know,
took some
but
serious.
It foreshadows the ending.
It does.
You know,
exactly.
It's so funny. It actually gives you a hint of how the movie's going to end. Yeah,
and I knew it as soon as he starts watching her through the window. You can't tell that it's him as far as like the way she's moving or looks, but it's like it's got to be him. That's the only way they're going to end this movie. They started it with that. They're going to end it with that.
Screenwriting works. You know exactly how that's going to happen.
Yeah, they're going to end it with that. He's in drag. Yep.
They set it up. They got to pay it off.
Yeah.
But I remember when he first takes it off, and like you see him in his full. Well, here, let me show you the picture. You see him in his full beard mullet combo with the granny glasses, and I'm thinking, did I actually put in Serpico? What is this?
Exactly.
Like correction.
I can't deal with that, man. Look. When Sylvester Stallone puts on a dress, we need to call it a disguise.
There you go.
If you want to use the other word, wait till Tom Cruise puts on a dress.
Tug, I got to do a slight correction on you, man. That's not quite a mullet because his ears have hair over it.
Okay, that's true.
If the ears
flare in the back of it.
were short of the
He
ears,
does
I
have
would
the
get
short.
through mullet.
He's got the bangs cut and permed up there.
It's definitely a 70s cut. It's
for sure.
definitely.
It looks like my aunt's haircut. Yeah.
Men's haircuts in the 70s were amazing.
Over the Hulk Hogan look.
Who he fought in 3? 3 was the one where Stallone fought Hulk Hogan, right?
I think so.
Or was it 4?
Yeah.
3.
It's 3.
It's 3. Yeah.
With Mr. T.
And as Vin Vanderstraten points out, this was a point in Stallone's career where he had done Rocky.
1 and 2.
But he had not done First Blood yet.
Nope.
So like he was still relatively new to the scene. I mean, the actual legitimate film industry scene.
He'd done Death Race 2000, but he wasn't a star.
I thought First Blood was the first movie he did.
Nope.
No. Oh, no. That was 82, wasn't it?
Yes. First Blood was released on October 22nd, 82. And Nighthawks was released on April 10th, 1981.
Oh, no. Rocky was the first one he written and directed himself, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
76.
And according to my research, he basically shadow directed this movie as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 directors in it.
Everything I read about it saying.
Part of Poltergeist.
Exactly. It's like Spielberg and Poltergeist. Yeah.
I don't know why I always think First Blood is an older movie than it is.
I'll be
damned. First in it.
I didn't know Rocky was released on my birthday, November 21st, 76. I never knew that. So thank you for bringing that up, Danny.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
November 21st, 76. Damn, I didn't know that.
He supposedly shadow directed Cobra 2. Yeah. As much as I do like Sylvester Stallone, his acting style is not great, but I do like him. And as a person, I think he's really smart, really intelligent. But he can also really dominate a set, apparently. Apparently, he was a chore to work with because he wanted full control over everything.
That's a very politically correct way to put that right there.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard, dancing on that line.
You can really
in the chat,
dominate a set.
Yeah, you can dominate. Just Korverkian or Carowin corrected me that Death Race 2000 is definitely more of a black comedy than an action flick. I agree.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Sure. let's see. I do like him in this role, even though he does look like Serpico. I'm pretty sure the role was obviously based on Serpico.
Yes.
Yeah,
very much so.
He's that undercover New York cop doing his undercover New York cop thing. Only he's not. I mean, we'll talk about this later when we talk about like the themes of the movie, but like he's not as morally gray as Serpico was, especially in the movie Serpico. Like he is very morally upstanding, and you know he has to go through his own moral torment throughout the movie. But like,
why do we have to shoot the guy? Why can't we just capture him and bring him in?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a terrorist.
It almost doesn't fit the gritty 70s style of this movie. Because like we were talking about in the back room, this movie was supposed to be the French Connection 3. That was the original plan.
It feels like it.
And it definitely feels like it. You can tell.
The subway sequence, say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The meeting under the bridge in the park too. That all of that, just.
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah. So, since we're on the topic of Sly Stallone, is there anything anybody else has to say about Sly Stallone?
No, I liked his line. I loved his line. I'll clean it up. But after his partner, played by the great Billy D. Williams, fresh off The Empire Strikes Back, I might add, because this was shot in 1980, released April 10th, 81. I just love the scene where Billy D's character is sliced by a bad guy.
Yeah.
And Stallone's acting is incredible, where he says, "You're dead! You're dead!" The terrorist. I love that. I love that acting in that moment. That was very real and passionate.
I also like that scene
Stallone,
because it's got that like 70s style of violence. Francis Ford Coppola talked about this a lot, in that like violence is sloppy. Like that scene in Godfather 2 where Robert De Niro shoots the guy in the face and like hits him in this weird spot on the cheek, and then his gun catches on fire. You know how violence is never neat. It's never easy. It's not like John Wick shooting people in the head between the eyes every single time. It's weird and awkward, and like the way he gets sliced in the jawbone is really awkward. And I really appreciate that, and I wish more action movies did that. But starting somewhere in the early 80s, that went away. And ever since then, it's been more clean cuts, shot between the eyes kind of stuff.
It's been a little more sensational.
Yeah, a little less realistic.
Yeah.
If you've not seen this movie, anyone in the chat or watching this in the replay, there's a great cast. I mean, the bald lady from Star Trek: The Motion Picture's in it.
Yeah, we'll talk about her. Yeah.
I don't want to.
Let's talk about her.
Persis
The Bionic Woman's in it. Lindsay Wagner as his
Lindsay
wife.
Wagner. Yep.
I mean, it's just got a great cast.
Rutger Hauer, Blade Runner. I mean,
and also
a whole bunch of sci-fi.
I was going to say, I mean, everyone in it is kind of a sci-fi icon in one way or another. Even Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
he's done his fair share of sci-fi. But Billy D. Williams, Star Wars, Star Trek, Rutger Hauer, Blade Runner. I mean, it's a love letter to sci-fi.
And she has hair.
She
has hair in this one. Yeah.
It was years before I realized it was the same person, because I was a kid when I saw these, so casts weren't really big in my mind. And of course, I had seen Star Trek. I didn't love Star Trek, but I had seen it, and I remember that really fascinating bald chick. And then I saw this movie. I think I was like 13 when I saw this, and I'm like, she's really hot with hair. She was Miss India, I believe, when she was much younger.
Yeah, when I was doing my video on the original Star Trek movie and I was researching Persis Khambatta, I came across all these like modeling pictures of her from before then, and like, wow, I now love her to death. She's amazing.
Yeah, and she really shaved her head. That was a big deal. I remember in People magazine when I was a kid reading all these articles about.
It wasn't a bald cap.
Yeah, exactly.
$1 million. They gave her $500,000, which was an obscene amount.
Isn't she a great grandmother now?
Probably.
She got paid the same as Curly in the Three Stooges. I'm kidding. Dumb. Fun fact. Fun lie. Anyway.
There's a line in the movie about her character that Rutger Hauer delivers that I just love. And so this is Shaka. Do not underestimate her because she is a woman. She has no maternal instincts. I love that line.
one of the most disturbing scenes in the whole movie is when she comes up and kills the head guy from Europe.
Yeah.
Davenport. Yeah.
Nigel Davenport. That guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a
Real
big shock
good.
because everybody thought it was
But-
going to be Wolfgar show up, and then the chick shows up.
Yeah.
That was
But
a
she
good
got the good
scene.
comeuppance. Yeah. I love when she gets hers though.
Yeah.
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 And you
I
see
don't
her
know.
like suddenly explode with emotion, which you hadn't seen yet in the entire movie. She'd been so stoic and calm and brutal, and then at the very end, she's almost crying because he just broke her cover and is saying those things about her in the tape. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was awesome.
It's really an intense scene, and it shows just how, because one thing they never really could convey in a lot of these movies is just how tense hostage situations are. And as you say, she's so stoic. The pressure must have been in ungodly.
Yeah,
And
broke
just
her.
that one line, it just like snap, which of course they were banking on. And it was an amazing scene.
Yeah.
And then Rucker Howard drives the bus into the river, which is possibly the most expensive scene in the whole movie.
And that was another example of that like sloppiness of violence, where he like throws the gun and it gets stuck in the back window. That was interesting. Never seen that before. Hold on a second.
Oh, of course. Another thing I didn't truly appreciate at the time when I was a kid was the coup of getting Nigel Davenport, not to be confused with Nigel Green, which I myself have actually done. But Nigel Davenport is like an institution in the UK. He had been in like about 700 films. He was
And a
in
bunch of
Zulu
TV
Dawn.
shows too.
He was in The Last Valley. He was in The Island of Dr. Moreau, Phase 4.
Phase 4.
Yeah, there you go. He's a national treasure, and he was at the risk of being redundant. And they get him in this. It's funny because he's sort of the fish out of water. He's sort of the Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross, but he just manages to tailor the part so perfectly. I mean, he goes from being this very stoic character himself to, there's a couple times he shows genuine emotion with Sylvester Stallone, and it's actually really, really intense.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Indy's got some interesting facts about dirty movies in the chat.
With
I don't
Precision
pay attention
Butter?
to the guys,
I wasn't
I'm
going to
sorry.
bring it up. I saw it in my research. Like, oh, okay.
I didn't know that. That's a good fun fact.
Stallone?
I only pay attention to the women though in those things. That's just me.
Well, that's the irony, is that of the 80s, I think, is that Stallone became this national hero,
Italian
Vietnam
stallion.
veteran, and in reality, during the war, he went to Canada and made naughty movies.
That's
Yeah.
why I said legitimate career. It was just getting started.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Anyway, I wanted to say hi to Sean. Sean Innes
Sean.
is here.
Hey, Sean.
He's been summoned, apparently. Yeah, I don't know who Jamie Gillis is. What are you talking about? Anyway,
I only know John Holmes from that era. That's the only one I've heard of. And of course, the one we talked about last time.
Ron
just
Jeremy. He's in
Thank you.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Billy D. Williams.
I used to think Ron Jeremy was Spinguli. I did for a long time.
That's funny. I can see that. That Cos guy with the second or third Svengoolie. Oh man, the current one on MeTV. Oh man, that's
Indy, it
fun.
doesn't count if what's his name? Al Leong's not in there, so that doesn't count. Al Leong has to be there for it to be a real who's who stunt guys from the era.
They use the stunt baby for the scene where Stallone goes back down onto the boat from the.
Oh.
No, they didn't use the stunt baby doll. But
Did they just use a doll?
the idea of using stunt baby. That's an old SNL bit about that.
Yeah. How about it was so shocking when the bad guys would throw bodies out of that cable car,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Mm.
nuns and stuff, and I liked how Rutger Hauer's character. I think it's before he had the plastic surgery. When he wasted someone, he'd cover their eyes before he shot them in the head or something.
Oh yeah, and he'd say like you go to a better place or something like that.
Mhm.
Weird, creepy.
I
And it
always
was-
liked the part where he called him up to get the baby off that little trolley car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he's starting to lower him back down, says, "Here's the note. Here's what I want. My demands. You can drop the baby, but don't drop the
Right, right.
And didn't Wolfgar recover a little too quickly from the plastic surgery?
Yeah, no scars or nothing.
Shouldn't that be like
Yeah.
a 3-month affair right there?
On the screen 6 months later, or something.
Really.
Yeah.
It's like, got plastic surgery. Next thing you know, he's in New York. It's like,
but I did want to highlight like the way he looks in the beginning of the movie. Like he's almost like he looks like his gait and everything is definitely Rutger Hauer. His voice is definitely Rutger Hauer. But then you see his face and you're like, what?
It's Richard Harris.
It looks like Richard Harris. Or
that's a testament to the fine special makeup jobs they did in this movie.
Yeah, I mean that's really good. That's incredible. That looks like a real person. That does not look. Like
anytime you can make Stallone look like Serpico, you're achieving something.
Yeah. So why couldn't Wolfgar just have makeup on instead of like a disguise, instead of have to go get plastic surgery?
That's an amazingly good point.
He's a method terrorist, I guess.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
Well, at least
I think because killing plastic surgeons was a trope at this time. They did it here.
Yeah.
They did it in Logan's Run.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Got to kill the plastic surgeon after you're done.
Talking about babies getting wasted in movies. I thought the most shocking one was in Escape to the Planet of the Apes, even though it was just like an obvious dummy. At the end of that movie, they shoot the baby, see the dead. That really hurt my heart, man. That whole ending of that movie, which was a lighthearted movie.
It's a lighthearted movie. That ending is so
it's brutal, dude. You waste the family, Cornelius. Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, they destroy the Earth in one of the movies, and yet still the most shocking ending is the one where the baby gets killed. You're right.
I think, like Chance said, it's because the rest of the movie was so lighthearted and jokey, and it had like an undercurrent, like a menacing undercurrent, but you never really felt like it was like a Planet of the Apes style gritty sci-fi,
Yeah, and who wasted him? Eric Braeden, right?
Yep, Eric Braeden, the guy from Colossus.
And Victor from Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
And Astor in Titanic and many, many other roles.
Yeah.
And Rat Patrol. He was the recurring villain in Rat Patrol.
Yeah.
Or a recurring villain in Rat Patrol, I should say.
But anyway, I didn't immediately recognize her, but that is Catherine Mary Stewart. Very young.
I never knew that like a year ago. I was like, she was, of course, hot as heck, but I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, I met the lady recently.
Yeah.
There she is. I interviewed her on my show, The Nostalgic Podblast, but she's gorgeous. I never knew that. I think it's the hairstyle that threw me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
have her 80s hair from like Last Starfighter. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She looks very wholesome in that picture right there too. So.
Well, she always looks very wholesome.
How could you waste her? You chose her to put the bomb under her makeup counter at the department store? What's wrong with
you? He's a real villain.
Boy, that was effective. Yes. What an idiot. And was it racist when Persis' character, the way she got killed, right? From Star Trek, because she's from India, right? They literally put a red dot in her head. The bullet.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. I never even thought of that.
I'm just saying, I know it's thinking outside the box, but it was kind of racist how they killed her off her character.
That's an interesting point.
Maybe I'm thinking too hard. I don't know.
I like it. I mean, I like it as a thought
No comment for that.
I don't think they were thinking that deeply when they were.
Yeah, I don't think that would be intentional or anything, but it's an interesting idea.
It is, yeah.
It is.
I think Nighthawks deserves the credit for opening up Americans' eyes to the possibility of terrorist threats in the United States. I remember when this movie came out, it actually started law enforcement people in my small town talking about terrorist threats.
Well, like when this movie was being made and when it came out, the studio didn't have faith in it. They thought the idea of terrorists operating in New York City was ridiculous. Like international terrorists doing anything in New York was just dumb. And the movie, it did make its money back and then some. Like it was a successful movie, but a lot of the critics hated it because they thought it was unrealistic that a terrorist would ever operate in New York City, which is obviously, we know that is not very forward thinking.
Well, it shows the innocence. The only real terrorism America had to deal with on any sort of regularity were plane hijackings, and those only affected people on the plane.
Right.
Later on, the planes became weapons of choice, even in some cases. But in the 70s and 80s, it was a much, I don't even want to say innocent time.
Yeah, because this was still New York City during the Fear City era, where they were handing out pamphlets to tourists saying, "This is why you should be afraid to be here at night." You know.
Well, we just had the Iran hostage situation.
Yeah, that was like just
at
the year
one time,
before. Yeah.
so that was on people's consciousness in the public, I guess.
Well, speaking of New York at that time too, by the way, I mean, a few years earlier, my mother and I we lived in New York, and we lived in a neighborhood where I couldn't leave the apartment to go out and play. That's how bad it was. I could only go out with an adult. New York was a very scary place. People don't realize it now. It was a really scary place at the time. The place. Remember when they go to do the drug bust, and it looked like a demilitarized zone.
Totally.
There were neighborhoods in New York that looked like that back then. That wasn't staged for the film. I mean, there was some very scary areas in New York City, and I think that was something they at least. I'm glad they gave us a taste of it, because it was certainly something.
That's what gave Nighthawk its harsh. Its harsh realism was the real sets they used and the real places they filmed, and a lot of cases the real people.
Yeah,
not actors.
You can kind of
we were there. And it had to. You think I'm crazy, but it had a real Starsky and Hutch kind of feel to it.
You can kind of always tell like a 70s or early 80s, cop drama or buddy cop movie or whatever, just based on the urban blight that you see.
Oh, totally.
In whichever city they're in, because it was basically everywhere in the United States at the time. So
it's like Escape from New York. They didn't really have to do much to make New York look like it was destroyed.
Mean.
But no, that scene, that drug bust
at the time
scene where Billy D. Williams
Drew just said it was cruel.
Almost just kills the guy for daring to offer them a bribe, but he sees the kid and realizes he can't do that. Like his character is more morally interesting and more morally conflicted than Stallone is. And I feel like the movie kind of it does show Billy G. Williams do some stuff, but I feel like it leaves his character behind a little too much, especially after he gets cut. But I absolutely love him in this movie. Billy D. Williams should have done more movies like this.
From what I understand, he was supposed to have a much larger part in the movie,
but they cut lot of this movie.
They cut so much out of this movie. Yeah,
like an hour, I think, of the movie.
Oh yes,
yeah. That's something I want to 2.5 hours long to begin with. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so much was cut with Lindsay Wagner too.
I was going to say
her character basically does nothing in this version of the movie.
Yeah, she makes a cameo appearance essentially.
She's only in 2 scenes, and we don't know why they split up. We don't know why they want to get back together. And it's
completely
her police work.
Here's a quick question.
That was explored in cut scenes. All right.
But they take for granted the fact that we've seen this 1,000 times. They've taken for granted the fact that, I see you put your work before me, so I left you, but I still love you, so we'll get back together. Yes, we've seen it 1,000 times. You still have to provide some type of staging, or it feels jackhammered in. Lindsay Wagner, I'm sure there was a lot on the cutting room floor that would have really fleshed her out.
There was.
I've got a quick question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Are they a director's cut for this movie with extra footage?
No. Stallone has said that most of that footage was lost.
Yeah. Right. I have the Blu-ray right behind me, right here.
They've looked for it and they can't find it.
Yeah. He really tried just a couple of years ago after he did that director's cut of Rocky IV, which I still haven't seen. Apparently, this was the next movie he really, really wanted to fix. But he really couldn't get any of the footage.
Damn Universal Studios or someone there just really effed up.
It's also why I'm not playing any more clips of this movie, even though there were a few I wanted to show you.
They're horrible. They are very unforgiving. Yeah,
they're the ones that I'm at war with. I've got a video dropping today on Harvey, and it's going to be one of those stills versions because it's Universal.
Don't they get promotion?
You can't show Harvey.
I know, right? I can't show Harvey.
We can't see Harvey.
I will never understand why they make such a big deal about it, because you're basically promoting movies that they have made and drumming up new, enthusiasm and interest in them. The
purpose of copyright law is to prevent people from basically just giving you the movie for free. That's not what I'm doing.
No, you're getting people to watch old
Steele?
movies that they can then make money off of again, you know?
Right. What gets me is when movie trailers are an issue.
Yeah,
It's a trailer. It's promotion.
It's literally an advertisement.
Now Disney gets it. Disney is cool about
No,
trailers.
Disney's awesome. Disney has
Videos.
never given me any trouble ever.
Right. They're awesome. They are great.
Yeah, but who wants to put up a Disney trailer?
Well,
Marvel.
Yeah.
That's funny, but that's Marvel.
If Disney ever comes out with another good movie like Escape to Witch Mountain or something, yeah, I'll put a trailer up.
Well, that's Marvel though too. I know you're joking, but like Fantastic Four. Can I show you this real quick? There's a still.
I'm talking about original
Ah.
Escape to Witch Mountain, the Disney movie
Nice.
from the 1970s.
Yeah, I got this in Hollywood. I got this in 2002. I went out in February 2002, and I went to every store along Hollywood Boulevard and Hollywood Vine by foot, and I bought every Lindsay Wagner Lee Major still I could find. And there's a Nighthawks one I got in 2002.
Very cool.
Kinda cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's
That's really
Lindsay. All right. That's all. And then there's that real quick.
Oh, okay.
There's the, well, you don't have to make me big. Well, okay. There's the Blu-ray, and the only thing bonus on here, there's an interview with Lindsay Wagner, and there's the trailer, which is pretty standard. And there's also an interview with Catherine Mary Stewart.
Nice.
It's worth having it just for the interview with Lindsay Wagner.
It is. I look, I like her a lot. I got all sorts of crazy stills. Anyway, that's all. That's all I got to say. I'll shut up now.
No.
no, good stuff.
We mentioned Catherine Mary Stewart, and I just have to say, because she came up in conversation, she is one of the most gracious celebrities out there. Like, I made my video on The Last Starfighter, and then one of my friends reached out to her, and then she reached out to me just to thank me. And
wow.
she and I shared a couple of emails back and forth. She is like so incredibly nice. And everybody I've talked to who's met her at like fan conventions or met her personally, they all say the same thing. She is very nice, very gracious. She's incredibly thankful to all of her fans. And as somebody who's met his fair share of celebrities, I can tell you that is not as common as you want it to be.
Yeah. Agreed. Mickey Rooney was the worst.
Mickey
2007.
Rooney?
Don't get me. Oh God, is he a jerk or was he a jerk? He was. It must have been a little guy complex or something. But at Dragon Con, it wasn't me, but someone was trying to talk with him. He goes, "Are you going to buy something? If not, get out of here."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know,
I was going to buy
my
something.
my mom was a photographer, and I have met quite a few celebrities, and 99% of them have always been real polite and nice people.
I worked at Disney World, as I've mentioned before, and that's how I met a whole bunch of celebrities like coming to Disney. So, I mean, they were already kind of stressed out because they're being mobbed at Disney. Like the entire time they're there, they're being mobbed. My job was basically to keep people off of them. And some of the celebrities I met were awesome. George Lucas is my go-to example. He was great. He was an awesome dude. He was just a regular guy who happened to be George Lucas, you know. But then there were others that were not, and I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to name and shame. I'm not like that.
I do have a question for you, Tug.
Adam
Yes.
West.
So, have you heard the J-Lo Disney story?
I don't think so.
Okay, I again, I've only heard this third hand, so I can't see if it's true or not. But
frozen.
supposedly, she went to one of the Disney resorts, and I'm frozen again. Terrific. She went to one of the Disney resorts, and she went to one of the restaurants and insisted they give. It was going to be her and her family and her entourage. So she's like, "We don't want to be mobbed by fans, so we insist it's just going to be us." The manager said, "Okay." He made all this food for her. She tried the food and said, "This food is terrible. I'm not paying for it." He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am." He took the food away when they were leaving. She's like, "So did you bag the food up for us?" And he's like, "No, I took it away. You said you weren't paying for it." She goes, "I still want it." He had to remake it for her.
Oh.
And I'm like,
brutal.
now I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm like, wow.
That's crazy.
Because it was on one of those pages with horror stories of Disney employees. And so I wonder if you would have just like heard it because of your circles.
No, I mean, I've heard some horror stories, but I haven't heard that one particularly. Probably the most famous one I was attached to. I wasn't the lead who was guiding them around, but I was there. Was when Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin were there. And I can say, from meeting Michael Jackson, he was a very weird dude, and I would believe either side of the argument. Either he was what he was or he wasn't. Either way, he was very weird, very broken.
How
His
old were
brain
you?
Was not right.
How old
I
were you?
was like 17, I think.
Did he offer you
16,
Jesus?
17?
Did he offer you Jesus juice?
No.
I have Jesus juice. It was allegedly Pepsi. It was allegedly Pepsi. He put wine in for those poor kids.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta run.
Oh,
been
okay.
Hey,
fun.
Damien, take care. I'm gonna
You guys
pop
have
out
a
and
good
come back
one.
soon.
Okay, you're gonna pop it. Okay.
Bye.
But I gotta say, the worst celebrity I ever met was Tom Clancy, and I didn't meet him at Disney. I met him at a writers' conference, and I really despise Tom Clancy as a human being. That's all I'll say. He's awful.
Mark Hamill was not so great.
I met this actor named Ed Asner once. He played Luke Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and then
I
he had
know
his
Ed
own
Asner.
TV series a little bit later. And it was when he had his own TV series where he was running a newspaper or something.
Yeah.
My mom done some
Luke Grant.
shots for the show, and I got to meet him. And Ed Asner was one of the nicest people you ever wanted to meet. But he was the grossest eater of anybody I've ever been around in my life. He ate with both hands like slopping a hog, and food was flying to the side. It made me so sick being at the table with him. I actually had to get up and leave.
He looks greasy. He looked greasy.
Yeah, I couldn't stand gross people doing gross things.
Oh man, that's funny. Real quick, Mark Hamill's the one that started the outrageous autograph prices because
Really?
he was charging $75 for like a lame poster in 1997 at Dragon Con. You couldn't even offer your own item for him to sign. It had to be something that he provided, and it was this terrible artwork. Anyway, enough said. That's all I got to say about that.
Bummer.
So anyway, Nighthawks. We didn't really talk about
guy, right? I mean,
Huh?
look, I'm very secure in my sexuality. That's a good-looking man, right?
Yes, that is a very sexy man.
That guy's like a god.
Yeah. I can see why in the movie he's a womanizer. Like he's able to just walk up to women and immediately get into their good graces. I mean, yeah, look at him.
Very diplomatic way to phrase that, Crash.
Yeah, but he didn't look like that in England.
Sorry.
In the beginning of the movie, he looked all different.
He was still good looking, though. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like you said, he looked more like Richard Harris. Yeah.
Harris, yes.
Not that that's a bad thing.
No, Richard Harris was a very good man. And you have to remember, Rutger Hauer was not a hugely known actor in the American market at this time. He was big in Holland.
Yes.
Yeah, he's big in Holland. I remember I saw Soldier of Orange years later, and it's still to this day one of my favorite war films. But again, that wasn't. I wouldn't have seen that were it not for this movie and Blade Runner and any number of others. But this is a very early role for him. And the funny thing, it really establishes his ability to play a very, very, very scary person.
Yes. Because he is clearly a psychopath who does not value human life in any way. And his motives are relatively unclear. He makes some noise about British colonialism, but obviously he just wants to. Like, I don't think like his mission was anything other than that.
Well, based on my cursory research, I think they kind of based him on the Jackal.
Yeah,
who was basically he was a professional terrorist who blew stuff up for various organizations who didn't have their own resources and was very well paid for it. So yeah, I think he was basically a sort of the terrorist version of a subcontractor. Oh, by the way, can we say terrorist on
Yeah, we can say terrorist.
I already did. I hope so.
Well, that just dawned on me.
Look at the chat. Sean's talking about Bette Midler, Barbara Hershey, not very nice.
Wow.
Tracy's talking about Eric Braeden being a jerk. Well, that's disappointing. I'm a big fan of his acting.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys were in the Invaders, like Dan mentioned. Ed Asner, he played a great alien in the Invaders, and Barbara Hershey was in the Invaders.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's like the first thing she ever did. She was like 18, I think. One of the first things. Anyway, I just love that show. Quinn Martin.
You know, Rutger Hauer played some other creepy parts. Like, you ever see a movie called The Hitcher?
Yeah,
that is one of my favorite psychological horror movies ever. I love that movie.
That was really deranged in that movie. It's almost kind of like the same weird guy here.
Yeah, kind of. Just a little more American, I'll say. But he still has that accent, that Rutger Hauer accent.
And Rutger Hauer has the ability to take a stupid, really bad part and make it believable. And I can think of two of them right off the rip. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where he played a vampire and made it really good and believable. And I don't know if you ever saw probably the biggest schlock he ever done, but he actually did a good job in it. It's called Blind Fury.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I like him in that.
Was Chuck Norris in that? Hello? Is the thing on?
I'm thinking actually. I want to say yeah. That was a Chuck Norris movie.
I think so. Rutger Hauer, by the way, he died at age 75 on July 19th, 2019. Rest in peace.
That was Ontario Quinn was in that. Right. And Noble Willingham.
That was a good movie.
Yeah,
Blind
that was
Fury.
a good movie.
Man.
I remember when Rutger Hauer died, the clip from Blade Runner, where I've seen things you people can't imagine. I guess it blew up the internet. So many people were using that as his epitaph. That
well, he wrote it. He wrote that speech,
and it's an absolutely amazing speech.
Yeah,
you know, I can't recite it without crying, so I'm not even going to try. But I just.
It is one of the greatest sci-fi monologues ever written.
Ever.
And yeah, it was written by the actor. It wasn't actually in the script.
Blade Runner
just kind of died.
And Blade Runner's got to be his most renowned.
That's probably his most well-known work. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah. Most people think of Roy Batty when they think of Rutger Hauer. And rightfully so. He's dang creepy in that movie.
At the end, please remind me to mention the Captain America movie. I saw it yesterday. I won't spoil it.
Oh, the new one?
Made me think of that. Harrison Ford's in it as the president, and of course he's
Right.
in Blade Runner. So that made me think of that.
Yeah, I'm curious.
He also plays the president before too.
Oh yeah, Air Force One.
Get off my plane!
Yeah, I think it was the third time he played the U.S. president. I believe. Wow, he's good. I'll save it for later. Sorry.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. Oh, Jess Carowin has John DiMaggio's autograph. That's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Rutger Hauer, he was convinced to come to Hollywood by his friend Paul Verhoeven, actually.
Oh, the creepy director of RoboCop.
Yeah, that guy.
And yeah. And I like and all. Well, the reason I say that in almost all of his biggest movies, there's always a rape scene.
Yeah, the one in Hollow Man is especially bad.
That's disturbing as hell. Yeah, where Kevin Bacon's invisible and he just goes in this lady's apartment and violates her. It's terrible.
That movie went way too far.
I enjoyed that movie, not that scene, but I like the movie, the concept. Always like the Invisible Man. You know, the universe.
That's one movie where that scene almost completely ruins it for me.
Yeah, that is crossing the line. And then Showgirls, you know, I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, just, what's his deal, dude? I mean, at least in RoboCop, it was not attempted. I mean,
I will say he saw some really disturbing stuff as a child, and it probably messed him up in the head.
Well, but there's copycats out there. It's like, why are you putting all this in these movies? That's not art, dude.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just explaining. I'm not excusing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So anyway, let me consult my notes. I don't know where Danny went.
I love that you put pictures up this time to talk about the movie. I like that you may not be able to play clips, but you can show images, and I think that's cool that you did that, Tug. I think it helps the conversation, makes it a better presentation of our debate. Or
I felt like I should probably start putting a little bit of work into these streams.
I think it just the good job. I'm just trying to compliment you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And Lady Hawk, can't forget Lady Hawk.
Oh yes, of course, Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk, definitely.
Osterman weekend.
This close to covering Lady Hawk this month for my fantasy February, but it just missed the cut.
Blind Fury was not. I was wrong. That I'm thinking of Blind Rage. That was the Chuck.
Oh,
Norris
that's
movie.
the Chuck Norris. Okay.
Yeah, I knew what you meant, and I had a wire cross, but now that you mentioned it, sorry, you were correct.
Someone's probably in chat like, you idiot, you don't know what you're talking about.
There was one clip that I did clip, and I tested it, and it failed. But I wanted to show it because as much as I like Stallone, and I do think he does a good job in this movie, there's one scene where his acting is just horrible, where it's completely flat, where like Rutger Hauer is about to shoot a woman on the tram, and he's in the helicopter, and he says, "No, don't stop. Oh, Jesus Christ, he killed her."
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
It's
don't
so bad.
Yeah. Don't do it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you guys feel like in a couple scenes of this movie, it seemed like they were ad-libbed. And it was
did
almost
feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it wasn't just me. And I thought maybe they were going for something organic, and I think maybe they were trying that there and it failed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that scene where they're under the bridge and they're arguing with the cop, I mean, that just that one in particular, I mean, like, did they just go for the complete ad lib bit? And it didn't really work.
Right.
Oh, John Cleese is a nice guy.
John Cleese, yeah. I mean, I'm not too surprised. I've seen a lot of interviews with him. He seems nice. He doesn't seem like
have I told you guys? Have I told you guys my Michael York story?
No, go for it. I always welcome any chance to hear your Michael York.
Thank you. I've been a fan of Michael York. I remember when I was like 7, right? My buddies and I used to watch the
Logan's Run.
Banana Splits.
Oh, okay.
And the Three Musketeers cartoon. So I fell in love with the Three Musketeers when I was little. And then, of course, the Richard Lester Three Musketeers came out. And I'm like, oh, brain explodes. There's a Three Musketeers movie. This is too great. Huge fan of Michael York, who played D'Artagnan. Huge Michael York. Loved him in everything. I've ever seen him in since. So I was a fan of his, like, since I was a little kid. When I was working for the video store, we were having a convention. And at around this time, Austin Powers 2 had come out. And who did they send as spokesman for their movies at our movie convention was Michael York and Mini-Me himself, Vern Troyer.
All right.
The line was going out the door to get Vern Troyer's autograph. Everybody wanted Vern Troyer's autograph, but like 2 or 3 people wanted Michael York's. And, of course, I'm like, Michael York.
It's Michael York. Yeah.
So I go over, and he's like signing the 8x10 black and white glossy. And I'm like, and I was like starstruck. And I said, the only thing I can think of is, I've been a fan of yours since I saw you in Three Musketeers. And he looked up at me with what I can only describe as militant apathy. And he said, oh, is that so?
Whoa.
And then there's this like prolonged pause. And I was like,
That's kind of nasty. That was off-putting, I'm sure.
That's annoying.
So heartbroken. I was like a little kid. I'm like, Yeah.
Well, one of the nicest people I met was Lou Gossett Jr. and Aaron Gray.
I absolutely love Lou Gossett Jr.
He was the best. He lived here in Atlanta.
One of my favorite celebrities.
Yeah, he was heart of gold. Good guy.
Am I back?
Yeah.
You seem like it.
I guess the wind blew the power pole down. I heard a snap and a crackle, and the power started flickering, and then it went dead. And then I had to reset everything and relog on and do the password back in because it's like it just eliminated my internet connection.
Did you hear
I feel it was something like that.
You heard a snap and a crackle. What about pop? Now I want a bowl of Rice
Krispies.
Krispies.
A crackle and a pop, but it wasn't like Rice Krispies. It was more like, like a giant tree snapping.
Dang.
I don't know what happened, but it's really, really windy here today. As I told y'all earlier, we're hitting 45-mile-an-hour winds, and the trees are all back and forth. And my dumb self is sitting outside.
Everyone knows it's windy. I couldn't resist.
I love that.
Sorry.
Song. Aaron Gray was nice. Had dinner with her, Sean Ennis. Very nice. In 2006 in Tampa, Florida. It was a paid thing, a convention. It wasn't like intimate date. I mean, she's married to a guy who worked on Friends at the time, but she was just so sweet. Enough said.
I had the pleasure of meeting her and Gil Gerard too.
Oh yeah.
Some kind of Butt Rogers thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he lost a lot of weight. Of course, I think he had gastric bypass surgery, but Gil ballooned after, for a long time. He was a big boy, big boy.
Gil Gerard, this had to have been like 1980, we'll call it. Gil Gerard hosted a science fiction, made-for-TV science fiction documentary. This is one of the most comprehensive documentaries I've ever seen. I fell in love with it when I was a kid. It only aired once. I have been looking for it on YouTube for about 15 years, and I can't even find anybody who even knows what I'm talking about. I think maybe I may have dreamt it. But have any of you guys seen or even heard about the Gil Gerard science fiction documentary?
No, I would like to see it. That's cool, man. That's cool, Thrash.
It might be one of them Mandela effects where you're the only one that's seen it because I got this old TV show about
that TV show.
Like that.
Yeah, quite possible.
Or that like music video Dave Sundstrom pulled from an alternative universe, like that 80s synth pop that nobody's ever heard of.
Can I say
There
one
was
of
a
the
whole YouTube post on the Partridge Family 2000.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people who swear they had never seen it, and like on a stack of Bibles, and that it didn't exist in their universe. So for some reason, the Partridge Family 2000 has become a proof of the Mandela effect of all things.
You see, because you can't know every TV show. I'm constantly finding out about TV shows or pilots that come out that I knew nothing about.
Yeah,
You know,
the
because
biggest
I was
Mandela
doing
effect,
something else and
Danny.
had a life at the time.
Danny, you know about this Mandela effect. We debated about it a lot. Moonraker. Jaws' girlfriend did not have braces.
Definitely. I
Child.
swear to God, I remember him. I remember both of them having the big braces. Oh, I really do.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of it really should have. She really should have had
She
braces.
Should have. I looked at the TV version,
and-
the ABC extended. It's not there.
You know, there's actually a Moonraker VHS from another universe that managed to slip through, and it has her with braces on it, and I've seen it. There's actually clips from it up on YouTube.
And James
Doctor,
Mason,
though, I saw that.
James
It's
Mason
fake.
should have played the Mad Professor. James Mason should have played the Bond villain in that one.
Yeah, he was the original choice, which is
He
so
was,
annoying.
and he couldn't do it for some reason. The guy who did it was
because
great.
of French. Because they were filming it in France, they had to have a certain number of French people in the cast.
Oh,
So
Is that
that's why Hugo Drax is not played by.
And at the end of Spy Love Me, it said James Bond returned in Fear Eyes Only, but then Star Wars came out, so they rushed to
Moonraker, right?
a movie of Moonraker, which was written in the 50s. Of course, the novel was out long before Star Wars.
It has almost nothing in common with the novel.
Yeah, but Fear Eyes Only, that was supposed to be Jaws in that movie. Like, remember the German athlete?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why does he have super strength? He's picking up a motorcycle that was written for Jaws, who had shown in The Spy Who Loved Me you could tear apart the roof of a van,
Right.
and had like above normal strength. But this guy shouldn't have, unless he was pumping steroids or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, not to be mean or nothing, but Moonraker sucked on so many levels. I mean, really,
I liked it. I'm
lots
sorry.
of
I like
problems.
it too. I like the music.
Yeah.
I like when he's spinning
I
around in
didn't
the
say I
Jeep
didn't like
or
the
chair.
movie because I love cheesy movies, but as far as Bond movies goes, that Moonraker's the king of the cheese.
You didn't like that opening though? And
I
the
didn't
plane.
say I didn't like it. I
parachute?
just said it was the king of the cheese.
Okay.
Of all the Bond movies,
Okay.
that's the one that you go, oh God, really? It's like when Jason went to space or something.
Yeah, Erin Gray was nice, Tracy. Just real quick, I have on 60mm film one of her commercials from the 60s before she was famous. She did ultra bright commercials with Cheryl Tiggs. I have them on reel-to-reel film. I told her about them. She's like, would you please make me a copy of that? I'd like to see that. Anyway, enough said. Ultra bright. Remember that? That was a toothpaste.
I do remember Ultra Bright. Indy makes a good point. Moonraker should have starred Louis Jourdan because he's French and he would have been good. But then, yeah, he was an Octopussy. I'm looking at my notes for Nighthawks, and we've pretty much covered everything that I've got written down.
There's one little thing I'd like to read into the record, by the way.
Go for it.
A small part was played by the lieutenant was played by John Spinell, who was, of course. Oh, I have my notes here for Green Slime. I'm sorry.
Green
which I did yesterday. Yeah, John Spinell. He was in Godfather. He played the bodyguard who later becomes informant in the second one.
Right.
He was he was in Taxi Driver with De Niro. Speaking of gritty New York film, he played the manager of the taxi station. The dispatcher, I guess you would call him. And he has a small part in Rocky 2, also with Sylvester Stallone. So I just wanted that read into the record because even though it's a small part, he kind of like really makes his presence known. And I go, where else have I seen him in? That's where I've seen him in.
There you go. Okay. Yes, Joe Spinell. Yeah.
Joe Spinell. Yeah, not John Spinell. Joe Spinell. Like I said, I had my green slime notes in my hand, so I had to kind of wing it.
Tracy, you're talking about Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, sorry. Jonathan Frakes. Yeah,
Jonathan Frakes. He was in a Fall Guy. One of the weirdest celebrities I met was David Carradine from Kung Fu. Who sadly, hung himself accidentally.
Right.
Won't go into
Most
that.
embarrassing obituary ever.
Sadly, it's true. But I just asked him, I said, do you remember working on The Fall Guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, The Fall Guy. He did 2 episodes. I have them all on film. I have that whole series on reel-to-reel film. And he was like, no one's ever asked me about that, man. That's cool. Anyway, I think he was high. It was funny. Yeah.
Did you ever see the Celebrity Ghost Stories interview they did with David Carradine, the one that they pulled?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not even going to tell the story, but guys, go out, find the Celebrity Ghost Stories with David Carradine. It'll just it'll literally blow your mind when you consider how he actually passed on.
That's
It's
okay.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that Luke and Laura, that was a phenomenon. We're going way off topic now, but
it's fine. Like it's basically open discussion now. So
that got better ratings than Lady Di's wedding to Prince Charles, which is of course the real wedding, the General Hospital fictional wedding in 1981, the same year. Lady Di tied the knot. It got better ratings.
Well, whatever. I'm an American. Screw the Royals.
And who else was in that? That was the best year of General Hospital's TV history, in my opinion. So many firsts, but Rick Springfield was in the cast, and Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a big year, and they'll never top 1981 for General Hospital. And they had a sci-fi storyline with John Colicos, of course, from Battlestar Galactica Baltar. He played a guy who was trying to freeze Port Charles with a weather control machine. They had a sci-fi storyline. It was incredible. The Ice Princess.
Really?
No
kidding.
I watched it after school. I was in 4th grade. I rushed home to see what was going to happen next.
I like really the demon possession storyline from Soap.
Yeah.
I still think he had the he played the best
real quick,
Klingon.
did y'all hear me use profanity?
Yes.
Earlier, yeah.
How much did you hear when the internet went out?
Oh, when your internet went out, I didn't hear anything.
Oh no. I thought you meant as a rule.
Well, the internet went out and I started using cussing language and I said, oh God, I hope I didn't see that.
We didn't hear it, buddy.
That we did not
really
hear.
harsh language just now.
Hey, Thrash, you're talking about Colicos being a Klingon in season 1, Errand of Mercy, the first Klingon in Star Trek. You know, when you think about it, guys,
I think he was the best Klingon.
But before the prosthetics, right? They were wearing blackface.
Technically,
the Klingons in Star Trek. Hate to say it. It's like, what's up with that? But do you like the prosthetic Klingons or just the dirty looking Klingons from the original series? What do you think looks best?
When I was a kid, and when I first saw the
we're on open discussion now, Dan.
I thought they were cool. The thing about the Klingons is they're simply a representation of the other side. So how they're actually depicted is less important as to
well, the new Klingons,
their presence. Like, for example, John Colicos, he just had a presence as Kura. You know, it's a shame. It would have been glorious. I mean, I ate it up. He was just, it dripped. I loved it.
Chewed up scenery. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, Michael Anzera did a great job, and there were a couple others, but John Colicos just nailed it. And it's funny because he was actually better known at that time for war movies. And so I think he was kind of channeling that into his performance. You know what I'm saying?
And I like the Klingon from Trouble with Tribbles who said, the Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. You get that rise out of Scotty.
Oh, and thank you, by the way. It was John Campbell plays a Klingon in that. I can't remember his first name. His last name is Campbell.
Yes,
but the guy played the Squire Trelane. Yes, he plays the Klingon of that. He's amazing too. He's a little more effete.
I never made that connection. That was the same guy.
Yeah.
Well, they're two different characters, but and by the way,
no, the same actor. I know.
Who else thinks that the Squire Trelane is actually the child that Q had with the other Q? Who else believes that?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
I've had that argument with many people. Most believe it, some say no. But I'm like, oh no, it's so perfect though.
I'm glad Trelane didn't say
winning.
Never fear, Trelane is here. He was kind of like a Dr. Smith.
Right, yeah.
In Star Trek or something. I don't know. It's supposed to be a
That
child.
was one of my favorite episodes growing up. I think it might have been my favorite episode when I was growing up.
And I love when you saw the salt vampire propped up as one of his toys.
Yeah.
M113 monsters just in the corner. They reused it.
Now that episode was the scariest episode from when I was a kid. I hated that episode.
Me too.
The man
first
trap.
one, NBC chose that just for the monster as the premiere. even though it was the 6th one produced, including both pilots.
Correct.
And it wasn't called the Salt Vampire. That was added by fans years later. It's an unnamed monster. Yeah.
M113 creature. The creature is what they call it.
Yeah. What I don't understand, it's a whole Queen of Blood scenario. Why do you, if you're living on a ship where there's plenty of salt, why do you have to go around killing people to get their salt? Just go into the commissary and eat as much salt as you'd like. You know,
go grab a salt shaker. Go to town.
Exactly. And, you know, but I don't know.
Indy coming up with random facts. Edward Fox, who played the Jackal, had an uncredited role as a member of the APAC.
That is so cool, Indy. Thank you. I had never known that. That's a great fun fact. I know him too, so I'm surprised I didn't see him. It must have been literally a cameo.
Danny.
Well, Danny, we all understand internet issues.
Dan, take care,
sympathize.
Man. Sorry, you're having trouble.
I never let him talk anyway. I'm always accidentally over talking over him. I don't know why I do that. It's a terrible habit. I have.
It's okay, man. I always worry that I do that too, especially on like BBB's channel or Sarah's channel. I worry that I'm like dominating the conversation all the time. But when I say that, everybody's like, "No, you don't. You're fine."
We all step on each other's lines.
But that, I'm sorry, I did it again. I'll shut up.
No. Well, I'd say we all step on each other's lines. In fact, I think I stepped on Tug's lines when I went to say that. So it's all part of the fun banter. It's very organic. We are very organic speaking in an organic kind of way. The key word is organic.
The word of the day, organic.
Organic.
Don't put an S in there. We'll get in trouble.
As opposed to Organa, which was the planet they were fighting on in the Errand of Mercy. That was in Errand of Mercy. Thank you.
And Princess Leia, Organa.
And Princess
That's
Leia,
her last
Organa,
name.
right?
Oh yeah. Well, this will blow your mind. For those of you who are watching me on the entertainment headquarters, you all know that in Brave New World, the drug they use to keep the people in line is called Soma.
Soma.
Do you know what the Japanese pharmaceutical company in King Kong versus Godzilla, the drug they make out of the red berries, you know what it's called? Soma. Oh, there's a wink and a nod, huh, guys? Big
now we
pharma.
actually do have a drug called Soma. It's a muscle relaxant.
That's right.
You're
I know
kidding.
people are hooked on it.
Yeah,
No kidding.
Not
it's a
me.
real drug.
Yeah, it's not me. You know, they say, the psychologist will say when I have this friend that likes to,
Oh, yeah, I know.
no, that
I actually believed you that it was your friend.
it's not
They
me.
have a protein shake line called Soylent, and one of the variety is green. I'm like, are you?
They used to lean into that, like when Soylent was just getting off the ground, they totally leaned into it, but they had to kind of stop because they were getting threatened with legal action.
Yeah, a Soylent sea foam. It's not actually green; it's sea foam.
Seaweed.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was the color of my wedding some 57 years ago. My wife's bridesmaids' dresses were sea foam. That's how I know the color.
That's cool. Are any of you guys Marvel guys, or do you like comic book movies at all, or not really?
I mean, I do like Marvel. I like the MCU.
I've kind of dropped out. It was just, it's sort of, the market got flooded, and it was just like,
too much.
I'm a purist.
Overkill.
Well, I'm a purist anyway, right? The last modern movie I saw was Dune, and I still haven't bothered to watch the part 2 yet.
I just watched part 2 again yesterday. It's great. You should watch it.
I really have to. But I would much rather just sit down and watch Wizards again. So I just don't watch modern movies anymore. But I promise you, I will watch Dune the part 2 over the course of this week.
No, honestly, I watch very few movies, but I will say I do watch MCU movies, and I do plan on seeing this Captain America movie, even though it's getting pretty bad.
I don't know why it's getting this bad buzz. I thought it was pretty good. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. 5 being perfect.
I
thought
perfectly
it was
decent. Serviceable.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I saw it yesterday. There's my popcorn. I got a large bucket so I could take some home. I always get a refill out the door
too. Yeah,
but it was good. I'm not going to spoil it, but Harrison Ford, he's still got it. I've been critical of him because his voice is so gravelly now. It's like he's losing his voice. Same with Ted Danson in those consumer cellular ads on TV.
Right.
Yes.
But he did a fantastic job, and I thought this obviously everyone knows he's the Red Hulk in this, right? He's the president. He becomes the Red Hulk. It's not too big a spoiler. It's in the trailer. It's in the poster. Well, I thought it was brave of him to show his naked body, except, you know, obviously you don't see his manhood, but when he transforms back into a human, I mean, he's an old man. I mean, I thought that was bold of him because we're used to seeing Indy with the muscles and everything. And he looks like an old man. He is an old man, but I thought that was pretty brave of him too. It wasn't CGI. They could have doctored in muscles with CGI or something, but you see the real Harrison Ford. And I don't know. That was just a little subtle thing I appreciated. I thought he really let his hair down for that little moment.
And yeah, Sean, I haven't seen it yet, but my wife's been watching Shrinking, and she says the same thing, that Harrison Ford's actually pretty funny on it.
Yeah. And what streaming sites do you have, Thrash? You say you don't watch much modern movies, but like, do you have Disney Plus or Paramount Plus or?
Well, yeah, I have Max, and I recently got Amazon Prime.
Cool. What about you, Tug? What do you?
I have them all.
Oh, okay.
Basically, there's a few I'm missing, but yeah, I have Max. I've got Peacock. I've got Netflix. I've got Disney Plus. I've got pretty much all of them because I used to do a podcast entirely on streaming stuff called The Streaming Heap, but then my Australian counterpart lost his computer and has gotten lazy, and so it's kind of fell by the wayside.
Well, we're big physical media guys, all three of us. I mean,
yeah,
but
totally.
I still, you got streaming's a necessary evil. I mean, it just is.
There's a few like shows that I really like on streaming, especially on Apple. I think Apple's got some really good TV shows. I like Foundation. I know a lot of Foundation purists hate it, but I think it's a great TV show. And I've been watching Silo, which also is fantastic, and Severance. All three of those are on Apple, and they're all great shows.
Well, streaming is just so convenient to stream. You can basically just watch whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I just want this read into the record, the one thing about physical media that won't let you down is it's the only way to find things in their entirety.
Yeah, they won't be changed. They won't be edited. They won't put stupid disclaimers at the start. Yeah.
Especially with classic TV. Tubi, I love Tubi. The free streaming. I mean, there's ads, but they're limited commercial interruptions. But I love things like that, and Prime too. But what I don't like is that Prime will have a surcharge for a lot of classic TV, even though you're paying your monthly subscription. Yeah. You have to pay $1.99 an episode of Starsky and Hutch or something. Just throwing out an example. I don't appreciate that.
One thing they do on Prime that kind of annoys me is they'll give you like the first 3 episodes for free without bothering to tell you that after that you have to start.
I didn't know that tactic. That is pretty cheesy and
really sleazy.
Yeah,
I found that out the hard way.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's why I'll never get rid of my hard copies of anything. I'd actually still stream them, but I'll still hang on to the physical copy, even though my attic's getting kind of full. It's sagging in a few spaces. Yeah. What is it? The old joke from Ghost of Mrs. Muir. I thought you put all your valuables in the attic. If I put everything of value of mine in the attic would be in the cellar.
Right.
I just got the Three's Company not too long ago.
Nice
DVD set because it's got for the first time the Ropers uncut. All that's been out there are the 22.5-minute versions instead of the 25-minute network versions. They haven't been seen in their entirety. And a lot of people hate the Ropers. I like the Ropers. I mean, I think it gets a bad rap. It was the same producers. It was funny. It did jump the shark when Jenny showed up. There was a stowaway girl living in their attic. They tried to boost the ratings with a young girl added to the cast, and nothing against her. I just thought the stories got kind of silly with her in there. She was like their unofficial adopted daughter, the Ropers. But anyway,
I know Norman Fell hated doing that show because he didn't want to leave Three's Company in the first place. You know what I recently saw for the first time? I had never seen that original unaired pilot where he had 2 different women in it.
Susan Lanier was Chrissy, right? And there were 2. Yes. There were like 2 different Chrissys, right, before Suzanne Summers. That's right.
Yes.
But John Ritter, I think, was in all of them, was he not?
Yes, John Ritter was in all of them.
He was supposed to be the star. Yeah.
But I saw the first one, and I didn't think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love DeWitt and Susan Summers, but I don't think the original 2 were bad. I'm not sure why. They passed.
Susan Lanier was back in '76 when that pilot was shot. She was doing a lot of TV. She was one of the original Sweat Hogs. She didn't make it. She was only in a handful of episodes of season 1, and she was the girl that Mel fell in love with in season 1 of Alice. She was like a little hippie girl, hitchhiker girl, and he was trying to get over his like midlife crisis with her and dated her, and she broke his heart. And then she was in Electra Woman and Dyna Girl playing a villainess a sidekick of the guy from Room 222 played the principal. Anyway, Michael Constantine, I think is his name.
Yes.
He played a villain, and she was Miss Dazzle, his assistant. She was like a magician supervillain. And one thing they need to release is Love American Style on DVD. In 2008, Paramount released just season 1 of the 5 seasons. And this is a show that, like Night Gallery, that it was in a 1-hour format originally. And then when it went to reruns and syndication in the 70s, they cut it to a half-hour format and just jumbled a bunch of the sketches together that would fit 22 minutes, 30 seconds without commercials. I really wish they would release the rest of these. It was the forerunner to The Love Boat, and it had a lot of good actors. I just put one on my other channel last night. I threw up a sketch with Julie Newmar, the original Catwoman from Batman, of course, and Bob Denver, Gilligan. They were a couple. She was a girl on a cake, in a wedding cake that pops out of the cake. And Ruta Lee, Regis Philbin, from 1969. I mean, before he was anything, young as heck. It's amazing the guest stars that were in the show. And Paramount, they should give this a go, or at least stream it on Paramount Plus. Hell, you put the Love Boats on there. You own it. Why not make it available? Damn.
The show was so brilliant. It was like The Fugitive, where basically they took a bunch of unaired pilots and ones that had a romantic theme to them, and they showcased them. So it's like they barely had to pay for the product because it was already produced. It was brilliant.
Happy Days came from there, as someone pointed in the chat. But the sketch was called Love in the Television Set. In reruns, they retitled it Love in the Happy Day, but it was Love in the Television Set because the Cunningham family gets their first TV set. Potsy was in it. Ron Howard was in it, but you didn't have the Fonz yet. No Henry Winkler, and it was Harold Gould playing Howard Cunningham before Gladbag guy, Tom Bosley.
Bosley, yes. Who did that show? Oh, what was it called? This is Hollywood, or That's Entertainment, which is basically a documentary series in the late 70s.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking it too of Van der Straten, but I kept my mouth shut.
Well, about Captain America, just don't listen to the critics and even the fanboys. These people say it's boring. It's not boring. That's all I'll say. I'm off my soapbox on that. I was really entertained. If you're into the Marvel movies, don't go in thinking it's got an agenda. There's no agenda in it, one way or the other. It's just entertainment.
Yeah, cool. I mean, like I Marvel movies are popcorn. Like, and I don't expect every Marvel movie to be like super intelligent and, like artistic. I expect popcorn. And if it's popcorn, I'm fine. Like even some of the worst rated MCU movies, I do still kind of like. Like I kind of like the Eternals. And every time I say that, people are like, how could you like that movie?
Yeah. Now, Love and Thunder is another story with me because it was so uneven. And what they did with Zeus, they made him
Love and Thunder is the exception. I do not like Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder.
And the cancer, there's a dark cancer scene, and then there's this ridiculous over-the-top comedy scene. It was just a mess.
Yeah, it was too much. It was a complete and utter mess. And they really wasted the character of Gore because he's a really interesting character in the comics. And in the movie, he's just a joke. Kind of.
And Christian Bale, total waste.
Total waste of Christian Bale. How do you waste Christian Bale?
He's so over the top of Batman. I loved it in the first one he did as Batman. He's like, "Where are the drugs going?" I don't know. I swear to me. Swear to me. Over the top. And he has the black. Huh?
We keep mentioning Batman. I stumbled upon this factoid, and I'm sure at least one of you already know it, but I have to read it into the record. When I was doing my research on Green Slime, the teleplay was written by a gentleman whose name was William Finger. Apparently, William Finger was the ghost creator of the DC comic Batman, and Bob Kane himself actually admitted he did most of the work. And I literally never knew that until I stumbled upon it just the other day.
Oh, wow.
And so you guys didn't know that either?
No, I didn't know that.
William Finger. Yeah, apparently he, according to Bob Kane, he did between 50 and 75% of the work. So even though everyone says, "Oh yeah, Bob Kane," yeah, Bob Kane and William Finger.
Thrash, I know you've seen this. We got to educate Tug on this movie, The Hand. I bet he's never seen The Hand.
Oh,
Michael Caine.
I know,
Oliver
but I
Stone.
have actually seen The Hand.
You
My
have?
dad used to talk about that movie, and then I went and saw it. Yeah.
Well, forgive me. I did not know you'd seen it. I'm impressed. That was one that ran
That's
endlessly on HBO.
100% my dad. If it weren't
Yeah.
for my dad, I never would have seen it. Like
That
I
was
never
a
would
cool
have
movie.
heard of it.
Tug talking about the finger reminded me of The Hand. I don't know.
There
I
you
know
go,
I can see
finger.
that in the severed arm, and we can pretty much go any way we want with this.
But even the Tingler, going back to
I love the Tingler. That's another one my dad told me about. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the movie that got me into William Castle, which is like that and 13 Ghosts and House on Haunted Hill and all those great movies.
Mr. Sardonicus.
Yes, Mr. Sardonicus, of course.
And you were in that movie that is actually
I was
based
in the movie about William Castle.
Matinee.
Yeah.
Yes,
Matinee,
which
the
I
back of my
find
head.
Yeah,
Wow.
that counts.
Because it was, I went to a high school called Dr. Phillips High School, which is right across the street from Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, like literally right across the street. So when they needed a bunch of teenage extras for the movie Matinee, they just went to the high school and said, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" I had nothing else to do that afternoon, so why not?
Did they pay
I
you?
met Joe Dante. I met John Goodman. So awesome.
Did they pay you? Were you paid for that?
Yeah, but it was like $50 or something. It was like nothing.
Okay. Non-union.
No, it was non-union. Yeah.
Look at Jedi Grand. Can you see their comment? Asking the panel.
Do you remember a late 70s show called Cliffhangers?
Brad?
I remember it. I don't think I watch it, but I remember it.
I do, and I interviewed the producer and one of the directors, Kenneth Johnson, who created The Incredible Hulk for television. He directed the pilot. He did The Bionic Woman. He created The Bionic Woman. He did that show, and it was up against a big hit show. It was up against like Laverne and Shirley. It didn't do well in the ratings, but it was 3 stories. There was a Western guy who discovered aliens underground. And then there was a reporter who stumbled on Stop Susan Williams, starring Susan Anton. She played Susan Williams. It was like she was a journalist who stumbled on one of the world's greatest secrets. And then there was Dracula 1979. So there was a Dracula storyline, those 3 storylines. And it was really well done. And only the Dracula one was concluded before the show was canceled. It only lasted a few months. But I loved it. And it's on YouTube. At least it was, unless the damn channel got suspended or something. But like a year ago, I found all of the cliffhangers on YouTube. Great show. I thought it was good. Yeah.
Oh, and to answer the question, somebody asked me, we were talking, Jess Carowin was talking about the 1980s Twilight Zone, and I mentioned that I'd been watching an episode and was struck in the middle of me watching it. I was pissed off. I never saw the end of it. It had Bruce Willis in it, and he was like called himself somehow. I don't remember anything else other than that, because like I only watched about 10 minutes of it before it got struck.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Of course. What was the one that I was just talking about one the other day? Now I can't remember it. Sorry. If I think of it, I'll let you know. Well, the weird thing is, in the mid '80s, there was an explosion of anthology series.
Yeah, they come and go.
Bradbury had his own.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes I confuse which show I actually saw it on.
Yeah, The Hitchhiker, Friday the 13th. There was a whole mess of those, especially the horror anthologies. Yeah,
Like
Nightmare on
example,
Elm Street
Dark
had it
Side.
too.
Remember Tales from the Dark Side?
Tales
That
from the
was
Dark Side. I remember that.
huge.
Yeah.
And how about Dark Room? Dark
Yeah,
Room was,
ABC.
Oh,
Good,
yeah.
scary
Yeah.
show. Hours-long show. That was I liked Hotel. It was like Hotel, but more horror. Yeah.
horror, yeah. And it had James Colburn as the impresario. And he was actually the most fun to watch.
Yep. 1981. I remember that very well, my friend. Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. Me too.
What about the movie The Babysitter with Stephanie Zimbalist before she was in Remington Steele? She played a psychotic babysitter. William Shatner's in it. Patty Duke plays his alcoholic wife, and Stephanie Zimbalist is a psychotic babysitter. John Houseman is in it, and she would wrap the families in plastic, their bodies.
Yeah. That sounds fantastic. I want to see it.
I have it on Laserdisc. I'm going to put that on my YouTube channel and check it for copyright.
If I remember correctly, the girl in it was the girl who was brought on to Archie's place when they decided to get a young kid. If I remember correctly, I forget her name.
Oh yes.
But she's the daughter.
Yeah, good call. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Red Shoe Diaries, right?
But yeah, Shatner did a whole slew of made-for-TV movies at that time. He was making a living doing made-for-TV movies until the Star Wars movie came out. Star Trek. Bite my tongue.
How
Bite
dare
my
you?
tongue.
I like the one in 85, Secrets of a Married Man, with Sybil Shepherd playing a hooker. He's a married man married to Michelle Phillips, and he strays from the beautiful Michelle Phillips
Oh,
to start dating a prostitute. I'm going to put it
Oh
on my
my
channel.
Why would you do
It's
such a
copyright
thing?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'd never seen it until recently. And
I saw it on TV
He's
at the
got
time.
that. Mary King's got that on VHS. What's that?
Yeah, I saw when it first came out. Yeah, that one, and I remember that being really raunchy for the time frame, because I was like a teenager, and I'm like, oh, this is really raunchy.
For TV, it is. I mean, it is.
was.
It was sexy as hell,
Yeah.
and not in a good way. God. Oh,
Danny
But yeah.
still has no power.
Oh,
sorry, man.
he's got no power.
You got to turn on the power.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're gonna start wrapping up here.
Okay.
We could keep having this conversation all day.
Forever.
I got other things to do.
Gotcha. Guys, I've had an absolute blast. This was a lot of fun. I'm
Hey,
glad I
you
could
going
make
live
it.
tonight, Thrash?
Yeah, I'm going live at 7:30. Hope to see you guys there.
Okay, yeah, and my links to Thrash's channel are in the description. And if anybody with a wrench wants to drop links, go ahead. Chance, what do you got going on?
Oh, I'm probably going to do a show on Friday. I bowed out of my Valentine's annual Nostalgic Podblast, but usually I go live most Friday nights around 7 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm putting more Space Giants episodes on my channel. I just put 2 more up. I'm going to load up another 2 and some more movies. So my channel I'm really trying to pump up is ChanceActingDemo. I'm putting Love American style sketches on there, as long as the copyright gods are with me, and so far it's not been a problem.
I added that link too, also in the description.
Thank you.
Both your channels are linked in the description.
Always happy to be here with you, Tug and
Yeah.
Thrash and Danny
My pleasure.
and Damien, and
Damien.
it's fun. You know, that seems to be the rotation of the people that are on. I know Thrash is always on most Sundays, but I really like it. And I like Tracy too. Tracy's Fractured the Stream. I never had the pleasure of being on with her, but I like watching when I'm not on. I'll watch when she's on with you in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, for the last month or two, I've been trying to figure out how to shuffle you guys around so that I can have each of you interact with each of you. You know, it's a little tricky here and there because Damien can only do every other week. I mean, he's got a very specific schedule and stuff like that.
That's kind of the way I am too, every other week. Yeah, that's my availability. That's cool. I'll be watching you thrash tonight. That'll be fun.
I'll be there.
Excellent.
And like I mentioned earlier, I've got a review of Harvey dropping in half an hour. So look forward to that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Take care, man. See you tonight.
That's it. I'm going to hit the button now. Goodbye.
Adios.
Thank you and good night.